Good morning and welcome to the Capital Gang. Today is World Press Day, a very important day. Honorable Ssemujju, that day concerned you a while ago when you were still in the media. I don't know, are we celebrating the World Press Day?
I was actually invited to be part of a panel at a function hosted by the Parliamentary Press Association. Ofon was meant to be there, he didn't. So I was with other journalists, but who are not in journalism. I am Skewer of the Women Media, Muchunguzi of Electoral Commission. And let me conclude. Let me say how I concluded, because they asked me, you're being asked questions. The question was, Ssemujju advised journalists how should they prepare covering the next election.
For Kawempe, how should they prepare for Kawempe?
No, for next election. And I told them, you write your will. Because this country now is run by Muhoozi Kainerugaba. And I said, write your will. We are going for war. If you survive, you thank God. Yeah. But Kawempe was to prepare you that we no longer run elections, but military operations. Because in Kawempe, I saw a member at a polling station. The law says you can't even carry an AK-47. But the level of impunity, they did not only carry an AK-47, they brought a member. And I said, guys, write your wills. The beating you got from Kawempe, some of them have undergone surgery. A number. I said, thank God you didn't die. But this was just an MP seat. But the one involving people who are beating for an MP seat. Yeah. An election where they are involved and their fate is being determined. Just prepare your will and prepare your family and your burial site properly.
Agather, a practicing journalist.
Yesterday, I think I should start with the clip. I said yesterday, there was army had.
Was Agather Atuhaire?
The army had surrounded the NUP offices, and there was this guy caught on camera saying, "You journalists, that's why you get beaten. Stop that nonsense. Why are you focusing your camera on me?" It was yesterday. That was just the day before Press Freedom Day. So I think we've before dealt with issues of press freedom here, but what we are dealing with now is war. Is war against journalists, and targeted, deliberate one, because in Kawempe we were with you here when one of the victims was narrating that this time, instead of the press jacket saving you, it was
inviting trouble.
Yeah, it was they were targeting anyone that is identified as a journalist. So we have no press freedom in Uganda. It has been worse before. Now it is a disaster. We have reports that have shown that actually
we are in the world statistics of having poor freedom, media freedom in Uganda.
We were before, but what about now when a soldier is saying, "You journalists, why are you focusing your camera on me? That's why you get beaten," as if I have pointed a gun at you. So it's now even more terrible, and journalists who are going out to the field will either have a scenario where journalists are not going to the field. Yeah. In 2026 elections, I am very sure there will not be many journalists willing to go to the field to cover especially opposition candidates. You need to see a clip by a comedian called, he's a doctor, I've forgotten his name, when he was contrasting when you are covering an NRM meeting and when you are covering an NUP meeting. So unless we all choose to go and cover the NRM campaign trail.
But NRM has also, I remember these PDM tours. At one time they said the NBS, Monitor, and so don't come. So even theirs, they are going to be covering themselves.
Especially the primaries. Mr. John Kakungulu Walugembe, most welcome to the Capital Gang.
Thank you very much.
Do you see a future for the media? Because Kawempe North gave us a sample.
Well, I think the media plays a very important role. And I think that it's important that we don't look at the messenger as the enemy, but rather we should seek to look at them as valuable partners in developing our country. But of course, there are other threats to the media. If you look at social media, citizen journalism, and so on, you find that increasingly everyone considers themselves to be a journalist, and with that you find fake news, misinformation, and propaganda and things like that. So I think we miss the era of a well-trained, sober journalist who is able to edit and give you stuff that you feel is
very true. But also the business of newspapers, it's
collapsing.
It's collapsing.
Yeah, that's
my favorite paper, The Observer, is they want to sell.
Yeah, that's definitely a challenge, because then it also feeds into our culture, not just as Ugandans, but globally, the law reading culture. Now, if a newspaper is out of the picture, then it means that...
No, see, the reason the newspaper industry is collapsing,
yes,
it is simply because people receive news as it is happening.
Yes.
In the past, with the radio, they would receive the news.
Wait for the next day.
And then the analysis would follow either in the newspaper. But now you receive the news, the analysis is there. So there are fewer people. I've seen newspapers in UK. They are now pleading for subscription, for survival.
Yeah.
Newspapers closing.
Yeah.
The world has changed. I remember one time we had a seminar where the CEO of Safaricom was making a presentation, and she took us back to the days when we had only one TV, Kenya. Is it KBC?
Yeah.
And then the radios came in. I went to Makeyo to do journalism just about 20 years ago. We were being trained on typewriters. The computer was now being talked about as the invasion in the media.
Yeah.
I think people didn't know that one day you will wake up
and even the newspapers
and people don't have to invite a journalist when something has happened, that they will do it themselves and send it all over the world.
So Ssemujju, I was telling you about Audrey Rwabogo. You were making that lunch longer. So he decided to come anyway. I think he's running a little bit.
For you were
late.
selfish. You wanted the lunch. It's good to have him around. It's good to have him around.
Yes.
And he speaks to the country since he's on the government payroll now.
Okay. Yeah. I hope he's listening, because you have started. But before we get to him, Labor Day was this week, and I don't know what are the statistics of employment in Uganda.
You need, first of all, the one thing I have discovered, that when you are reading the report, population and housing and everything census, you will need to have your own calculator and generate your own statistics. Otherwise, you're going to be in trouble. Let me give you an example. And I saw Museveni falling in the same trap, but of course, maybe deliberately. The report says there is 25 million point something people of working age, according to the National Labour Policy. 25 million, aged 14 and 64. In the report, they tell you 9 point something million have jobs. But when you go further, because you see me, I was there with the calculator. So if you tell me of the 25, 9 have jobs, it means 14 are without jobs. And Museveni did very well by breaking down where they are working. 3.6 are in agriculture, 500,000 are in public service, and so on and so forth. But you go on the subsequent pages and they tell you unemployment is 1.2 million people. But you have told me of the working 25, only 9 have jobs. Now you are telling me on another page that only 1.2 million, but even the 1.2 million, because they put there a percentage of 13%, and I was doing my own calculation, 13% would actually bring you to 3.2 million people unemployed. But the subsequent the subsequent statistics, and that's why you need to be picking information and bringing it here. In Uganda, you have about 14 million people who don't have 2 sets of clothing in the country. You have more than
two sets.
Yeah.
1, 2.
Yes, they are 14 million. That's why you will see they addressed in Museveni T-shirt when he's going to address a rally, because one set is for Kuchara, another set is for work at home. I mean, you grew up in that environment. You have one for Kuchara and one for everyday life. And these statistics are in the report. But those who don't have shoes are 70% of the population. And then there are all the images of school-going children. I was in Busoga, and I saw them on the main road. The ones who have improved are in Nigina. The rest are barefoot walking to school. And then people who have bank accounts in Uganda, 2.7 million people. They are the only people who have bank accounts. One time, Father Carlos was writing for Observer, and he said he went to an ATM in the north, in Acholi. And he said, I collected all the receipts that the machine was issuing to do my own assessment of the income. And he said the balance on each of those receipts I picked was not more than 20,000. And he said, you see, that was shocking. So he went and corrected those things in the ATM machine and then looked at people's income now directly. So you have only in Uganda a count of 46 million people, only 2.7 have bank accounts. Yeah. If you are in a formal, because private sectors and government, they pay through banks. So even the 10, because I saw Museveni breaking down the statistics, 1.4 in factories, they are in Namamve, they work at Azam and all factories, paid 5,000 a day. So if really you're going to classify them as poor unemployment, you're just a joker. Yeah.
Agatha, I think NSF has 1.2 million.
Active ones, 800,000.
Yeah.
They have 2 million.
So also 1% of the working class of Uganda, BOU recently said only 1% earns more than 1 million shillings. Only 1% of the number that Ssemujju has just mentioned, that's 24 million people. 49%, which is almost 50, and 150,000. But like Honorable Ssemujju is saying, when you're counting people that are employed, you're counting those that are employed in these Chinese factories. In 2019, I did a documentary about work in Chinese factories, employment. So Honorable Ssemujju talks about 5,000 shillings that they earn per day. He doesn't mention that if it rains, if you leave home and come to work with a Chinese factory that is doing a road and it rains, that day you are not paid. It's as if you're the one that has brought the rain. So these people are
you're
working.
Not working or you are not paid?
You are not paid. You won't work because of the rain. But if we're in a country where workers are protected, that can't be my fault. The rain can't be my fault. I left home, use the transport
the Chinese paying you per output
to come and work. That's the problem. So here we have problems of poor working conditions. I interviewed the Ministry of Labour officers that time, and we have all these good laws about occupational hazard, safety at work, and all that. And we put to them what we had found in these factories, because we had someone who lost a hand. But that one was the lucky one.
There's also compulsory insurance.
So
I forget the name. Workers' compensation.
Yeah. So we asked this, and off the record, the guy said, all these laws are there. We are supposed to supervise every 6 months. We actually do. But what are we supposed to do if we come and we are told, leave my investors alone? You have an issue of minimum wage. This has been an issue for such a long time. Or even rationalization of salaries, where you find engineers, people are all engineers, they all went to engineering school, but one who is in UNRA, before UNRA was closed off, would be earning 20 million. One who is at the district is earning 2 million. All these issues, you cannot really exhaust issues of workers in this country. Yeah.
Lydia Wanyoto Mutende is in the studio. Most welcome to Gang. Honorable Lydia Wanyoto Mutende in a faded, nice-looking yellow gomesi.
I'm in a yellow, beautiful gomez, cool color and gray,
right?
With a gray. It's not faded. This is cool yellow. That's the right description. And good morning to you, Oscars, to my colleagues in the studio, the gang, and to our listeners. I bring you greetings from Mbale City and the NRM fraternity. On Tuesday 6th, we will all be in our villages to have village barazas and to make sure that our voters register is ready to elect our village structures. So Akalangwa Lupe, but this cannot go without saying. And as I greet report, the most contentious issues about the age of the youth. We use the Youth Act to tell our people that for the young people joining the NRM or participating in the NRM, the age is 18 to 30. Okay. So the senior young people should move to the next level. You are not 30, do not participate in the Youth League program. Thank you.
Audrey Rwabogo is also here. You're most welcome to gang.
Let me pass the microphone to OR. You're welcome.
Thank you.
You know, Capital Gang starts on time, so but you're here.
So I apologize. My mornings are so heavy, and I underestimated the traffic. That's not an excuse, huh?
Yeah.
And I don't drive on the edges, so.
I don't have the
morning show had traffic. And they're saying
his advance team was here an hour before.
Okay.
Yeah, so for them they kept time.
Yes. Mr. Rugembe.
Yes, sir.
On Labor Day, do you know you people that run businesses, especially trade?
Yes.
You have a challenge on your hand because when you step out, people are mobile shops. You know, they no rent, no tax, no NSSF, but you can see that they are hustling.
Yeah, so the challenge with I was looking at the 2024 census, and I'm looking at this as the Bible. I don't believe some of these statistics, but I'll for now use it as the benchmark of because we must have the 2024 statistics of the census.
Yeah.
So in this,
for me, I find them okay if you pick your calculator and read them.
No, I don't. I'm sorry. Any serious statistician.
Yes.
Okay. So the issue is, according to this report, about 9.4 million Ugandans have work. And then we have 42.6% of young people aged between 15 and 24. They are not in employment. They are not in education. They are what they call NEET. They are not in training. And then we have...
What percentage is that?
42.6. Assume that 50% of young people are not in training, they are not in employment, they are just there. They are some category called NEET. Right. If you can move around and find them sitting, they basically have no plot, as we say. So that is, for me, the biggest issue. And when I look at these people speaking on Labor Day, trade unions and so on, they are in the world of the past, because for them they're talking about poor working conditions. The critical thing here in this country is, first of all, how do you create jobs? The working conditions are secondary. In fact, in economies where they are too restrictive on working conditions, you find that their employment rate skyrockets. That's why you see that in the UK, for instance, they've tried to change that. They have what they call 0-hour contracts. So in the UK, an employer can get me, I work with him for today, and I'm not sure that I'll work for him tomorrow. But I've earned. I'm not saying this should be the ideal, but I'm saying that as a country, we need to focus on ensuring that we get our young people into work. And that's why I say, as a country, we need to also encourage entrepreneurship, because government cannot create enough jobs. Big factories cannot create enough jobs. We must support our young people, if they can, to create their own jobs. And we must create those conditions for those. Because the challenge is, if 2 out of every 3 business collapses in Uganda, and we are running after them for tax on day one, that's a challenge. So we need to look at entrepreneurship as a very viable route. And then we also have this issue, and I want to categorize it very fast. We have what we call the unemployed, uneducated. Then we have the unemployed, uneducated, unskilled. Then we have the unemployed, they are educated but they are unskilled. I went to university, I got a degree in zoology, but I cannot offer skill in a business. So as we try to resolve these issues...
And you're not doing zoology, you're doing trade.
I'm doing trade. No, I'm not even started doing trade, for instance. So as we discuss these issues, I see, and President has, I think, a committee that has been looking at trying to address the curriculum and so on. The curriculum, yes, that's a long-term measure, but what can we do in the short term to skill some of our educated people so that they get into the workplace? So for me, what I'm saying, we must adopt a multi-pronged kind of approach that looks at entrepreneurship as a route, that looks at investors. These investors who come, many countries insist. For instance, in India, you cannot set up a retail shop. In South Africa, I cannot set up a spaza shop. But here, as an investor, I can set up anything. See? So we must also look at our investment act and ensure if you come in as an investor, what businesses should do, which businesses should be ring-fenced for locals. See, so for me,
I've also seen some investors, in the mobile trade working with.
No, they are doing everything. If you go downtown, some of them are managing restaurants and stuff. Some of them are gatekeeper. No, so we need to also be serious. If someone says, I'm coming in as an investor, they must have resources, they must have technology, they must have... You must bring something. You can't just come and you're competing with locals to run a retail shop.
Thank you, John. Let me go to Rwabogo before Lydia. One of our topics was Rwabogo, so we started with the Labor Day. So very soon we shall go to the topic Rwabogo. And I already told Ssemujju that you are coming. So World Labor Day, thinking about the dire statistics being shared on this table.
So I didn't listen to the speeches on Labor Day, but what I'm doing is disruptive of the conditions that that he's talking about. If you take let me just give you the fish sector. The fish sector, when you do 1,000 kilograms, which is a ton, you create 200 jobs. And those 200 jobs come from maize and soya, which you put together as fish feeds. And so Uganda is aiming at 1 million tons.
My producer here is telling me, raise your voice a little.
Like shout?
Not shout, raise the voice for the recording.
Okay. How is it now?
Better.
So I was just giving an example of fish. And that's one sector.
By the way, I should have said Star Cafe. I hope you didn't come with your chapati in the pocket. Everything is safe here, so you
good.
Yeah.
So you use Star Cafe.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Good. So 200 jobs come from 1 ton. For you to make a ton, you need fish seed and fish feed. And I don't know if you know about this. We have 2 fish feed plants in Uganda now with a capacity of 100,000 metric tons. For you to produce a kilo of fish, so I hope that people don't get disturbed by numbers.
No.
Okay, so for you to produce 1 kilogram of fish, you need 1.5 kilograms of fish feed. Now, what we are lacking now is the fish seed. The discussion is around how do you deal with tilapia and Nile perch and catfish and make sure that you gain much more kilograms faster from 0 to 300 grams quicker than how we've been doing this. If you take that sector and multiply it to 1 million tons that government is looking at, you will consume 800,000 metric tons of maize. And we're taking all our maize to Kenya, no harm intended. Kenya is our trading partner, but we could make fish feeds out of that. You need 600,000 metric tons of soya in order for you to... So those 2 figures, 800,000 metric tons of maize, 600,000 tons of soya, give you 1 ton, 1 million tons. You can't do that unless you have entrepreneurs in the value chain who are transporting the fish, who are doing the fish seed, who are doing the fish feed. And therefore, for 1 million tons, you create 200,000 jobs. And for a country that has 41,000 square kilometers of freshwater fish, freshwater, this is much, much simpler to do. So it's a little bit of intelligence, and it's a little bit of honest politics. It's a little bit of institutions that we're really trying to get to work, that we can deal with this labor situation. Uganda does not have a labor issue because it has many unmet needs. Uganda doesn't have unemployment. It simply has lack of good thinking on how to get each sector do what it's supposed to do on time. Does that help you, Oscar? I didn't know I was going to speak about labor, but that's part of what I do in exports, because every ton you sell outside, you attract patents, you attract skill sets, you attract education, you leave that sector different than the way you found it. That's why I have targets on markets, targets in revenue, targets per sector.
Interesting. I just thought, last week, Fonopondo laughed at me because I buy fish and I keep it in the freezer. And he said, you're a very strange man because he buys from the lake and he eats. But anyway, Lydia, World Labor Day. You listen to the speeches.
Lydia was there.
I was in Nakapiripirit at the national function for the International Labor Day. So I not only listened to the speech, I witnessed the National Day, but I've also been interested in the programs that are working towards bringing women to workplaces and trying to see how they can improve and support the household income campaign. So it's about work and it's about income. Majority of Uganda's women are largely and historically been in the informal sector. So we are tracking statistics, and if you may, we began with the market. The market areas in Uganda are in two sectors. There's the formal sector, that if you go to every city or town in Uganda, there is a market, including here in the city. Some were really makeshift, but government, through robust programs, they've been able to put up good condition vendors markets. If you go to Wandegea, if you go to Kalere, if you go to Safi area here in Nachivubo, and outside town, I come from Bale City. We have a new market that was constructed. It's up and running in the city. It has blended well with the Usumid urbanization. Go to Arua, Lira, Mbarara, Soroti. So my focus is on the women in the workplace, and in terms of numbers, in terms of their income, in terms of getting to the formal sector, away from the informal sector. We also have the informal markets. You have the Baganda quite or these periodic markets. At every Tuesday, there's a marketplace here. Those are areas that bring income to people, but also offer employment or income opportunities for people. Now, the statistics that Honorable Ssemujju is talking about, and my brother here, are largely those that wear jackets in the morning and go and sit in an office, and they will earn at the end of the month.
Some.
But there are those that go out to work, and at the end of the day, they will balance some book and see whether they have made a profit or not, and that's for the day or for the month. Or we also have this whole sector that is in circles. You deliver your goods, whether it's milk every day, they record it in a circle. At the end of the month, they calculate your money and give it to you or whatever it is. So, labor in Uganda is largely in two forms. There is the formal and the informal sector. On this table, normally, the statistics are about the formal sector. You are on a government payroll somewhere. You are a sub-county chief. You are a teacher. You are a member of parliament. Teacher is also liberalized, actually. There's the informal and then the formal. But at the end of the day, really, where I sit, our campaign is so much in the informal, and I zero on trying to see that I work with those that are helping women to get to have an income that will therefore give them.
So just before you leave the microphone, when you start your campaigns, are you ready for the poverty you shall see for all those people like Walugembe was describing?
But I live in this community. I'm not a Ugandan today. I live in Naweya, I live in Imbale, I've just come from Chiriandongo, I was in Kashari, I live in Uganda. I'm a known community person. So you're not telling me that I am going to jump from Capital Gang and go and face a man who will call the poverty. No, I live in the community, I don't live a lie. So I know where the issues are. I know the struggles we have.
I will come to.
I know where the struggles where are. I know those that we need to deal with the mindset even of elites like yourself to see how we are going to have a chain that lifts people from where they are progressively, stage by stage, to where I want them to be. And it's not a one-off that because it's a campaign. So no, me, I live in the community, and those who are listening to me know that I'm saying what I am.
Thank you.
Exactly. Yes.
So we're sending that microphone to you, so you now share with Agatha, because now we're moving to the topic called Rwabogo.
No, I just wanted to supplement.
Yeah, get the microphone.
I walked in late, so I know that you use job numbers selectively to achieve an objective. So I don't know about Walugembe, but
he was quoting from the census.
So, but you should look at human beings are multidimensional. We are not unidimensional. Look at the number of households. In the last 10 years, we've grown from 7 million households to 10.5. Of those 10.5, 3.5 are the ones that are outside the income bracket. Look at a household which has four people instead of focusing on an individual. Now, of those 3.5, that's why you have $400 million under PDM. PDM has reached now 2.7 million of those 3.5.
It has not.
Well, you check the numbers.
You check. You see,
Hold on.
The census puts at 800,000.
Nganda, listen.
These are government numbers. 800,000.
No, I have.
That's in the census report.
But I have latest numbers.
Those are your numbers. The one that are officially government's 800,000. That's in the report.
So I have amount of money that has gone in every district, in every parish. So please, just be a little humble.
No. So I am giving you your own figures.
So let me respond.
But
Ssemujju also got his 100 million. So he's a district.
Parish.
He's a parish.
Just let me finish.
Yes.
The 3.5 million households correspond in such a strange way with the 3.5 million households that are headed by women. And that tells you something, that perhaps poverty levels are to do with responsibility at home. So when I say 3.5 million households, 3.5 million households led by women, and 2.7 now reached, the point you're trying to make is that each of those four people have some sort of enterprises, some sort of selling beans, some sort of selling fish. And so look at jobs in a much more broader sense than the graduates. I know we have 10 million young people, 18 to 30. I think that's what we have. Those 10 million people, I know how many of those have businesses. So, but I just wanted to supplement her, just for you to know that it's not just exports I'll speak about, but I know that government efforts on trying to pick the lowest bottom to join those who are in an earning bracket, who are elite, who are in suits, it should be applauded, even if some disagree with the government.
I have Nora Oraga on Twitter says facts from the Statistics Uganda National Population Census says Uganda untapped potential is 5.2 million older youth. Not in employment, not in education, and not in training, kind of supporting what Walugembe was saying. 39.6 of them are in Greater Northern Region, West Nile, Acholi, Lango, Teso, Karamoja, and Buke D, as in 60% of older youth are in that category of no work. You know, Moses Biarahanga also comes and bamboozles us with statistics the way you are doing. But let me start, because we have all been ready for you. I don't know how much of exports you will speak about, but let me first give you an opportunity. Starting with PES, is it PES? PASID. PES EID.
Good.
What is it and what does it do?
So listen, Oscar, you come to places because you have a sense of respect, and you also feel that your voice is being diluted, and people are telling lies, and they don't know about you. And so it is leadership that my reading of leadership is that you walk ahead of the people you lead, cast a vision, hard as it is, and encourage people to stay focused with that vision, but at the same time pull back and work with the people without being infected by corruption or praise. But you stand behind them to see who falls and who stands. That's what I do, and that's what really brought me here, so that I could explain some things, because I'm tired of listening to Nganda and his other groups.
You have no option. I am elected to speak every day. So you have to listen to me until I am voted out.
But you shouldn't tell lies. Don't tell lies.
They have asked you to speak about your export. You are speaking about Nganda. Are you exporting me?
He is allowed to speak about Nganda. But first
let him
get
speak
into
about
it, and then you respond.
You call him speak about export. He starts with Nganda. So do you export me?
But Ssemujju had already told you that I had a lunch with Odrek because of Ssemujju. And every time you were increasing, I said, now you have made the lunch longer.
He says he wants to utilize
let
the
him
platform.
First present.
So let him speak about his export.
Yeah.
If he wants me to engage in a debate about us, we can have it maybe at the conclusion of the show.
Okay.
So, Nganda, you're a very interesting person. So,
I thank God.
So if you take a look at all the countries all the countries that export 50% of their GDP, they have recognized about three things. First, that their domestic market is not significant enough to provide a base out of poverty. And there are several countries that do that. They also recognize that unless you diversify and you do not depend on one commodity, you don't grow. They also recognize that unless you educate your population and you focus on science and support high value growth, you won't grow. And so because of that, they provide low rates of taxes to attract high value technology, pharmaceuticals in their economies. They work with regional markets. They create pockets of excellence. And that word excellence is not just improve. It is firm hold on what you do and do it very well until it now becomes a shining example for all. And that's what we're trying to do under PASID, our Export Advisory Committee. To have a pocket of excellence doesn't mean that your society is okay, that your institutions are okay, that you have all it takes. You simply say, I am how I am. I will focus on certain things and do them very well. And these will improve the performance of the economy. And so, what do we do as PASID? Or maybe what do we do as a country? We have too many uncoordinated institutions that really don't deliver in that area of exports. And without coordination, taking a kilo of anything to another market is an undertaking. You have to think of that market. You have to think of how to get there. You have to think of how to package it. You have to think of a number of elements. We have like single stand farms that we support. Government supports outside sectors. Single stand farms don't grow the economy without supporting sectors. And we also focus on the consumptive parts of our economy. These 100 million shillings you hear of MPs, we don't focus much on production. So we create institutions You said you have coffee. Can I have a cup of coffee?
Yeah.
Matthew, just put for me. So what PASE did is study. Good. Thank you. Thank you. I woke up early, so I
So
so
as he's taking his coffee.
so
As let him finish.
I don't know how you do a show with Nganda. He's absolutely.
No one had him. You're the only one on microphone.
Can you just shut up for a minute and listen?
But your microphone is the only one that's on.
Okay. So we took
For now,
13
I've
sectors.
shut you, Honorable Ssemujju, because I've switched off. Yes. Okay.
We took 13 sectors. And those 13 sectors, we studied. I think I know the intention. He's just trying to rile me up so that I don't focus. So those 13 sectors include coffee. We added tea recently because of its issues. We have dairy products. We have fruits and vegetables. We have tourism. And we looked at if you filled certain gaps in each of those products, you would have a particular percentage increase. So I don't have time to take you through those percentage increases, but we arrived at $6 billion as new revenue if you fill those gaps. And so we took a model, we call it a 4-pillar model. We said markets. Markets give you signals. And so stop blind trade. Conduct basic research on tastes and preferences before you go to a market. When the research is good, find a way to appoint a trade representative. Those trade reps are not appointed by government. They are not paid by government. They are relationships we build. When you find that working out very well, establish a trade hub. Okay? Now, so when you do that, you are able to, and this doesn't have to be new markets, like the new markets we've opened. It can be old markets and you take new segments, right? When you do that, the markets demand a certain standard. You have to comply to that standard. So we haven't had any food safety law for the last 60-something years. And some members of parliament have been at it, have been here talking about other things. So you have chemicals in food that are in one area. You have animal feeds that are in one sector. You have veterinary medicine. So things are spread all over that you don't have a single strand place where you go. And we are now trying to create a food safety ombudsman. Because without that, you cannot get one certificate that you can blockchain and help young people to trade. But let's assume you have the market well and you have the standards done. And it's not very easy given the environment we operate in, politics, insults. Now you need the infrastructure. That infrastructure must be multimodal. You need to look at your skies, your lakes, and your land. Think larger. So we spoke with logistics companies, for example. One company requires, I think it's 200 trucks. They call reefers, refrigerated trucks, to deal with fish, to deal with fruits and vegetables. You got to invest in that. Who does it? So you must find a multimodal way to incentivize people to have boats on lakes. So our Lake Albert, Mwitanzije, for 60 years, we use 15 horsepower engines to take products across and bring products across. So you must find investment in this infrastructure to really lower the unit cost of an exporter. Finally, even if you have the three, right? You have the market, you have the standard, you have the infrastructure. You cannot support companies unless you lower the interest rates, unless you make it easy for people to borrow at less than 5%. In order for you to compete with China, to compete with those who sell to you. Therefore, those interventions require coordination. So a product is produced, there is a farmer, there is Minister of Agriculture. There is Minister of Trade with these institutions. There is Minister of Finance. There is Minister of Foreign Affairs. Who coordinates those to ensure that, just like a bean seed, you can
Prime Minister.
No. You can have. So when you plant a seed, Oscar, you need to manure it. You need to put it under, let's say, you give it fertilizers, you give it water, but the main elements are not those fertilizers and water. It's how much that seed produces a bean that you sell. The ultimate objective of these reforms is that you help farms, FIRMS, because countries don't compete as states. They compete as companies in those states. And therefore, you must work very hard to ensure that your SMEs really... sorry, I keep coming back to... I know.
It's okay.
I think I just got upset.
Yeah.
I got upset with... So...
Don't get upset too easily.
We do not... No.
I gave him time. I invited him. Let him go.
This is not a workshop.
Go on, Audrey.
So, Oscar, some people protect their jobs. I protect my call. I protect my cause. Causes are higher than jobs. People just protect their jobs, but they really don't see that we're in one large ship with different cubicles. So those reforms have given us something interesting. In the last 2.5 years, we have $460 million worth of orders in about 10 to 12 markets. Those markets...
Orders of what?
Orders of coffee, orders of fish, orders of fruits and vegetables, orders of dairy products.
And that's part of your work, because I was going to ask you, what's your output? So you're saying...
So those orders must be fulfilled by people, by companies. Those companies are the ones you help with certification, you help with standards, you help with market entry, you help with export credit funding. Do you want me to stop here?
Yeah, we
because I can go on. I can so
that we have some responses. Let me start with Agatha, who is calmer than Ssemujju.
I think you're right.
Go to the microphone.
Even Ssemujju has been calm.
Listening and taking notes.
Listening and taking notes.
Yes.
I think Mr. Rwabogo came patronizing and angry and what, but it's not good for a debate. I would have, appreciated it if you came and said on this day, Ssemujju lied about this and this, and it's a lie, and we will give.
I actually am coming to that.
Yeah, so maybe it was better to start that way. So as taking notes about things you were saying, and for me, my first question, Oscar, is to Mr. Rwabogo is, what's the legal basis of PASID, and what is its budget line?
That's many questions.
Okay.
So that's one. So the other, he's talking about creating pockets of excellency. And I would like to, in specific terms, for him to enlighten us about what has been done. He said, because of the reforms they've made, but I didn't hear them. You only mentioned things that need to be reformed in terms of markets, in terms of standard, in terms of infrastructure, access to finance. What has your committee done in the last 2-3 years of its existence in terms of improving this? The third, maybe, and last question for me is that there are institutions, like he mentioned, that were put in place legally under many laws to do this work. Uganda Investment Authority, Export Promotion Board, Ministry of Trade, and Mr. Rwabogo kept saying they are not coordinated. I would like to ask if PASID did PASID come to coordinate them, or it came as a parallel structure because these are inefficient to be the one to take over. Now, if that's the case, why do we still have these other so many that we spend on and whatever if they were not efficient? I'll stop there for now.
I thought you were also going to pose a question on the coffee. And
he has already talked about coffee.
I will answer, Oscar.
Okay,
I just left out a portion on coffee and lies, which I want to come to later.
Don't answer just yet. Ssemujju, you're on microphone.
You see, the starting point is that this country is now effectively under family rule. Effectively. Wealth creation, Salim Saleh is in charge. And you see people trekking to the north. Export Rwabogo. And I am happy he's back here because he's angry for no reason. I told him here the last time he appeared that he needed to be cleared by the family to contest for NRM vice chairman. He said no. Was he not ordered to get out? So you that patronizing attitude of thinking you are above everybody, so people are there on your mercy. And that's how you walk into cabinet to give lectures. So you want to come to Capital Gang and give lectures. That you need to stop. You are a human being like any other. So, marrying from the first family doesn't make you an angel. The starting point is the arbitrariness.
Okay.
I am a member of parliament. My job is to approve government policy, government departments. Every budget that comes to parliament comes with a list of government employees. And I approve them because that's my job. Rwabogo is one of them because I see him on the payroll as the presidential advisor. So the point, Oscar, is that you have a government that they have themselves made ineffective. After making it ineffective, they sit somewhere, they begin criticizing their own government. This country is interesting. You are part of government, you are saying it is uncoordinated, it is ineffective. For you, who are you? Why don't you become the Minister for Trade, a formal institution, and do these things in a formal structure? But you create your own kiosk somewhere because of your relationship with the president. And then you begin looking over everybody. You are the one in charge of export. Coffee, the first time Rwabogo appeared before the committee on the budget, we were in Munyonyo. That time he was vending coffee, this man of Ntungam. Yes, and he said they needed $100 million US. We want Parliament that the moment you begin approving this money, you will not come to an end. The first amount of money they took was $35 million US. 35 billion. They came back. I think now as I speak to you, they are at about 120. They are coming for more in the budget that we are processing. You make yourself look like angels. Just, Oscar, I don't have to be any expert. Give me the amount of money they are taking, giving it to Ntungamu, and I will do better than Ntungamu. So the point is that export promotion, you have, as Agather has said, you have the Export Promotions Board. If it lacks the human resource, why don't you employ it there? Why must it go to the first family? For me, that's the problem. And that's what Rwabogo must be answering. What specific qualification does he have to be the one in charge of export that the people in Export Promotions Board don't have? But two, they have been part of this government for as long as they have been there. The government, they are now criticizing as being ineffective. Do we make the discovery at 40 years that now we have to start afresh with Rwabogo and Mohozi, who is kidnapping Ede Mutwe and celebrating on Twitter, and that's what you're offering to the country? Oscar, these statistics I have given you here are not my own statistics. This country, 46% of the population of Uganda, 60% of the population is in agriculture. 46% of the population are food insecure, either severely or moderately. Is that the work of Ssemujju? So if I say it here, just quoting your own official government book, so I become a liar. Because the statistics was here, they told you 46% of the population is either moderately or severely food insecure. I told Parliament, and I'll be making a response, this PDM, if you read the report of the census, only we have so far now released 3 trillion shilling. Only 800,000 people have benefited because they are picking one person for 1 million shilling per a household. The analysis I'm doing on budget, Oscar, and when I am done, you will allow me to become to sit where Rwabogo is sitting now as a shadow minister and give you the figures. Okay. I want you to stop because we're going to stop for a break. I will because you've given Rwabogo about 40 minutes. He's turned this into a workshop. So when we come back from break, I'll allow you another 2 minutes. Then John, then Lydia, and then we go back to Audrey. Let's stop for a quick break. Welcome back from the break. Your 2 minutes. Were you reading from your notes, Honorable Ssemujju? No, I was taking notes when Rwabogo was speaking, thinking that there will be something to respond to, which I didn't find. So I am
creating your own.
I am responding to government official information. So we are about to finish the budget, Oscar. You have about 14 million people in Uganda, because for me, I don't want to quote households counting mabati and structures. I want to count human beings. That's why I said when you are reading these statistics, have a calculator. They're going to confuse you with the households. If you do your own mathematics, you have about 14 million Ugandans, Oscar, who are poor, people who can't feed themselves. When you are dividing the national budget, people who work for government, the Otajano put them at 390,000. I saw the president putting them at 480. So you have two figures that you need to reconcile. But whether they are half a million, they represent 1% of the total population. When you look at the budget figures, 11 trillion, because they earn 8.3 trillion in the budget. Then the other attendant costs, vehicles, it comes to about 11 point something trillion, which is 16% of the national budget. When you subtract the 27, which is 38%, 27 trillion, 38% of the budget for debt servicing. And then the most annoying thing is that collectively, the ones who earn 11 point something trillion fuel their vehicles to go and inspect about 14 million people who they have given 1 trillion, and they begin asking them why they are not getting wealth. Rwabogo and others, you need to ask yourself, how comes you are in charge of wealth? You are the only ones getting wealth. People who are in charge of creating wealth. Okay. That's why people keep tracking it to you for money, physical money now. So the policies of government are ordinarily not bad policy, but the implementation is different. They will come on show here and throw statistics in your face of households, of what and what. The actual people in the villages, Oscar, are suffering. If you read the recent report of the population census, community access roads are impassable. In fact, those who are growing their crops, see, we can't even take them to the market.
Thank you, Ssemujju. Let me go to John.
Thank you. I'll start from the substance. At independence, Uganda used to export coffee, cotton, tea, copper, and grain. If I look at our export performance now, we are still pretty much dealing with the same things: coffee, cotton, copper, gold. We hope oil and so on. So I think the biggest challenge for us as a country is how to transition. And we cannot transition in everything. And I see sometimes the president, because you see, if you've traveled, people want to take their coffee fresh. They want you to grind it when they are there. Now, if you say we are going to add value to coffee, those people don't want Nescafe. They want actual, so it means we have to study each crop and see how best we are going to compete.
I also don't want Nescafe.
Per value chain. Then the other issue is around our export performance. Our export performance has improved. The trade deficit is decreasing. We are seeing an increase in exports to about 789.
How much has it improved due to Rwabogo's work?
No, but it's a contributor. You see, you can't, even if it's accidental.
You say you don't know.
Even if it's accidental.
The question
you
is
see, we must give credit. You see, the point here is that we must, even if I don't like you, but you're good looking, I should be able to say you're good looking, isn't it? So, whether or not, we cannot, at this point, we cannot. You're asking me causation. We're asking me causation. Mr. Ssemujju, you're asking causation.
I have your microphone on.
You're asking causation. Here we are talking about correlation. Correlation is there's an increase in exports. And Rwabogo is somewhere in that picture.
We will ask him.
The extent of his contribution, I cannot say because I'm not his spokesperson. Okay. So what we see is an increase in exports. And we are seeing an increase particularly of exports of coffee, a 22%, almost a doubling of export volumes in this regard. So I would say that we are performing but not performing well. One, we are still exporting raw commodities. Two, we are still exporting to the region. The bulk of exports are going to the region. We are not able to take advantage of the African Continental Free Trade Area. We are not taking advantage of other markets. You're seeing the issues with AGOA and the US market. So I think we need to do more, especially to tilt towards the Asian market. Because what you see from the statistics that we are starting to export to the UAE and to Asia. So for me, if I was looking at an export development strategy, I would look there. And I'd also say that I helped the Export Promotions Board to develop a strategy for export of education services. We must move away from the Trump theory of thinking exports are goods. Because Trump thinks that they have a trade deficit because they have a trade deficit in goods, yet they have a trade deficit in services. So Uganda, we must create a very strong positioning in the services sector. If you're looking at education, looking at tourism is very volatile, because for tourism, if you have a political event, if you have this, but we must have position ourselves in certain areas. Is it health?
If you
is
beat
it
up
education?
journalists, tourism goes down.
Yeah. So there's a bit of volatility there. Now, in terms of PACID and its mandate and so on, I would say this, because I'm in the sector, I'm in the private sector, I've seen them evolve. They've done some good work around the studies, because we're working with UNDP on the issue of export readiness and accessing markets, and PACID came in and they've done some studies for some markets. South Africa, they did for Algeria and other things. They've also done some trade missions. But what I think PACID needs to do better is to coordinate more with sector actors. Don't operate in isolation, because you see the issue is if you operate in isolation, you don't institutionalize, you don't support the institutions to perform better long term. You can be the star, but at the end of the day, you're not you see, in Manchester United, Ferguson had to let Beckham go because he felt because Beckham was doing very well at some point, it was a disadvantage to the performance of the entire team. So my encouragement to them is, PACID, use your convening power to ensure that we have these discussions. And it's actually a good thing, actually, Mr. Rwabogo being in the export. I've spent 20 years, but the level of attention that exports are garnering now is nothing compared to what we've been seeing in the last year. So in effect, it's a good thing that he's doing, but I think they can make some improvements and iterations here and there.
Lydia, yes. Before Lydia comes on.
So Uganda's exports, it's true, have improved in terms of money we get from exports to $8.5 billion currently. Now, those exports, the two main ones responsible for that are coffee and gold.
Correct.
The reason for money in coffee increasing to around, I think, $11.5 billion now.
Yeah.
I mean $1.5 billion now from 700 million is the global coffee prices that
has increased.
That have increased over the last 3 years. I would
You're saying it is not from our deliberation.
No, that's an assumption. At this point, it's an assumption.
No. Wait, John. I took notes and you can respond later. What I would like to know is what PACID has contributed to that. Okay. The gold for gold it's also
your microphone is off.
it's also now at 3.4 billion from 1 billion about 2-3 years ago, but it is also because the global prices in gold have been going up since 2021. Uganda's exports, the 80% are agriculture. We would like to know what has been done in agriculture to improve or increase both quantity and quality. And he talked about standard, what innovation, research, modern technology are what improves standard. What we've seen is a bottle irrigation, is PDM, people finding one goat, one pig. We would like to know in all this what has PACID contributed, and it forms part of my first questions earlier. Thank you.
We go to Lydia.
Lydia, can you
use this?
Lydia, you can use this. Is closer to you.
Oscar wants to give you special attention and a special microphone, because I think a special guest, because he said you're a topic yourself.
Yes.
So I am honored to use the Audrey's microphone, although we have a history, but I think now it's a different matter for
On
Oscar. issues of export,
you saw they put in for him.
On issues of Uganda, positioning Uganda for export has been a very big challenge, because every time we make one step, standards come and they take us 2-3 steps, even within the region. If you look at how we are going, Ssemujju, I'm sure you are aware, you've been around when you had, we cannot export our eggs or chicken to Kenya, but then we and sugar, and yet we import one day chicks from Kenya. Ken chick is the biggest product in Uganda, but when they bring the chicks from Kenya to Uganda, and we grow them and start producing eggs, when you begin to produce, there's a battle. Then there are bilaterals. So anybody entering into the sector to help Ugandans meet just standards is very important. And we look forward to those entry points, at least for the women in business. I want to really applaud the Private Sector Foundation, where there is the Women Entrepreneurs Association and other groups trying to build the capacity, training, but also helping women to put the products that can be exported. That's one. The second one is I want to hear about the Uganda's priorities. We cannot be in every enterprise. What is it that we can brand, grow, and run away with? I want to give an example, Oscar, that Ethiopia has worked on as an African country, and it lingers in our head. When you are landing at the airport in Addis Ababa, you do not smell chocolate. You do not see a lot of chocolates on the shelves. You will see coffee. They will make it a point to tell you that you have entered the land of Ethiopia, and that Ethiopia is known for coffee. And they've even made their culture, everything about them is about coffee. So what is it that we can do for Uganda? We cannot be everywhere. So can we pick 1 or 2 products and we really make it, focus it, do research, brand, export, both quality and the quantity. If they say bring so many tons in a season, we are able to deliver. And what does that speak to? It means that we must have a very robust chain. And if we have circles or outgrowers, they deliver on time, they deliver quality, they deliver in sizes, including from the garden. Traceability. When the EU passed a law recently about coffee, we were laughing. People are running away saying, how can I register my 10 trees of coffee? But traceability is now a big issue. Where has this product, or where is the garden? Who are the farmers? What fertilizers are they using? What seed are they using? What is the nature of the soil? These are things that are now on the table of markets, to the supermarket on any shelf, that we have not been brought to appreciate.
Okay.
Once it's out there, I'll be the first one to bring my women to train and be able to deliver. So we want to hear about the chains, the quality, the standards, but also to ensure that the quantities are met. If you click for us a market, we should be able to meet the quantities on time, because you don't want a shaken breaking contracts or a shaken commitment.
Thank you.
The market is very sensitive, but we have no choice but to meet the competition. And finally, Oscar, there is the issue of the revolution, the IT revolution. Everything has gone IT, and how much of our country has evolved into IT, to the last person on the garden. Because when talk about Uganda and exports, what comes to my mind is not so much the services. For us, really, we have to harness what we have. We have good weather, we have good soil. What can we get from the gardens? Organic soils to export, even our water. We have fresh water that can produce the blue economy. What is it that we can do from the blue economy? 1 or 2 issues, run away with it and change the story for Uganda.
Thank you.
That's what I can contribute.
Jacqueline Arinda of Jada, I'm sure Audrey knows her, says, John says we have increased coffee exports and Rwabogo is among the contributors. Out of the coffee money he helped secure for Ntungama factory, how much percentage of that has been exported or contributed to the current coffee exports? Moses Biarohanga, OSM, the Kira municipality MP, is saying that the report states that 25 million people are in the category of working age. And according to him, that age starts at 14. Definitely, this includes students, because on average, one leaves university at around 23. So of 25 in the working age, if 9 are employed, doesn't mean the rest are unemployed. And he wants to, let me first inform Agatha, and to inform Agatha that the increase in earnings from coffee are a result of both increase in the international prices and the volumes Uganda is exporting. We have coffee volumes going up. It is because government through OWC gave out free seedlings. Kaunga Masiko says we have 39,000 tourists in Uganda. Kenya has 630. And he sends a long quote here that asserts that maybe Roderick does not even know Chikomando. So, but you know,
you see,
if a man doesn't talk.
No, we will listen. We
need to give him time to talk.
Biaranga wants even to deny statistics in the official government book because they are mentioned by Ssemujju. The national labor policy is 1464. It is not my policy.
Roderick Rwabogo. You've had responses across the table.
So thank you very much. You know, I just stopped because I thought I should yield the floor. I hadn't explained a number of things, so now I hope I am able to do. So let's just quickly go to, when I say something, I hope Agatha answers your question, or Nganda, who doesn't want to listen. So when we began this work on 16th of March 2022, our total exports as a country just outside COVID, after COVID, was $4.2 billion. When we took the 7 to 10 markets where we put trade reps, where we conducted some survey and took certain orders, products, the increase between now, I think, and then is more than 1.8. You said 8.5, but the official statistics are around 7.4. So that 1.5 comes from first awareness. So you did not have a market called the Balkans. The Balkans, under then Yugoslavia, signed with us on September 10th, 1963. That agreement was never put to use until July 2023. And we are now going to expand it to cover cocoa, to cover vanilla, to cover cassava. And next week, we have the first shipment of a 20-foot container ready to drink, shelf roasted coffee from Uganda on that market. And so if I take the market of the US, we were very general. So we know we take casein, we take cocoa. So we focused on cities like Detroit. Detroit has ordered, when I say Detroit, it's a city, but we have off-takers there. The first roasted coffee, espresso, ready to drink, 230,000 sachets of that coffee. Detroit was not your market for roasted coffee. We did not have cities like Chicago. Chicago, we have a trade representative, and we know north of Chicago, in a place called Aurora, there is a Ugandan farm, Ugandan US farm with roasted coffee we're supporting. I don't want to take a lot of time per market, but I could go to UK, where you had absolutely zero presence in terms of awareness. See, when I say awareness, when you have a trade rep, they work with local supermarkets. They work with local media. The issue has been that we are not able to get these supplies on time in the right quantities, but I told you what else we're doing to fix that. We didn't have significant presence in Kinshasa. We were in Eastern Congo. Just before the war broke out, we were 50% done on setting up a trade hub in Kinshasa, and hope we can pull it off even with the issues there are. So in each of these markets, Oscar, we have presence, we have teams, we have orders, and we have companies that supply those orders. We think, and we are not working in a market that has data, easy to collect data, but I can tell you when we conduct survey in Lamo, in Omoro, in Lira, on Simsim, and we take an order of 100,000 metric tons, I don't want to mention names of people, we know how much that will go to China and how much that contributes to our net income that wasn't there. So, significant focus on exports, on really bringing some sort of compelling thinking and doing an ecosystem. Because you really, when you hear people speak, it's as if this one has all the knowledge to do this. This one, no. Ecosystem thinking means that he who grows something, he who transports it, he who certifies it, he who represents you as an ambassador, he who communicates on social media, they are united around your product and your brand as a country. And we try and work that out. I can mention more trade locations, but we don't have time. So I just need to go to, in our culture, there are certain codes and social norms. When a man who is supposedly a leader lies, let me just start with simple things. Rwabogo walked to Chankwanzi. He was not tested. And he just speaks to cabinet. So let me tell you how we ended up in Chankwanzi, and then I'll come back to. Yeah. So what?
Let him respond.
What? Mm-hmm. Of course, I have the certificates. I don't know really. I have all the. Yes, because you said
he has decided to produce.
No. Well, this certificate was on 9th of July. Our meeting was on 11th. And I have a list of the people I went with. They're all government officials. You have the media center. I can read them for you. If
it is not necessary.
Okay.
Please continue.
Why were we there? So if you take a look at the reporting of Uganda food products on the global market, it's amazing that we still get sales on the market. So you have suspected penis found in restaurant food. So you are in China, you are talking about meat, because we had a 20,000 metric ton order of meat, and this is reported in your newspaper called Monitor. You have another one in New Vision that says almost similar things. NDA looked away as AIDS drug was fed to animals. These things, I meet them in boardrooms. The only way to deal with them is to say, Minister of Health, before you issue a warning on Ebola, contact tourism people so that their orders are not cancelled. Minister of Agriculture, before a story like this comes to and stories will always come out, before it does happen, please be careful that your scientists have certified what you say. Because of that, we needed to have what you call one whole government type of communication. So we had people from ICT, we had people from agriculture, and we were asking about a way you speak about the country, not its individuals. We will be commissioning this committee very soon. We are not stopping, so that we have a centralized way to communicate. So that's as basic as it is, lie. Now, you came to Munyonyo carrying people, and you asked for money. Nganda. Very, very, very interesting person. So we were 6 different sectors. We had coffee, we had tourism, we had dairy, we had beef, we had fruits and vegetables. Total, we were 12. Why did we come? Because we had spent time with UNDP trying to raise an export credit funding that would be private sector driven. We had on 19th of April 2023 brought UNDP, PSFU, private equity funds in front of the president, and we say, if we raise $5 million, can you match it, sir? This is how $10 million happened. Why were we together? We were looking to set up a fund that supports everyone, not coffee alone. That fund did not come to us did not come to, the idea we had did not mature. So this money was given to STI, Ministry of Science and Technology, and it went to one entity. Should I stop helping other sectors just because one sector has taken the funds? What was the spirit of us coming there? To ask you as responsible members of parliament to think about when you wake up, how many farms, FI, RMS, are you saving? We said if you match this amount of money by a particular amount, we will run it professionally. We will ensure that it has some minimum interest charges. We will ensure that it will be export order driven. If you don't have an export order, you can't use it. What did Nganda and my sister from Ssemujju do? They just said nothing. They left the meeting without speaking. They went to parliament, and the next thing I heard, Rwabogo is leading a delegation to take money because of... So we didn't take money. We didn't take money. I just want those who are listening to us and who know me, who know who we are, never is a dollar is in our organization of that money. That money went to a coffee consortium led by one company. That coffee consortium did not approach the idea the way we wanted. So I stepped out of the country in Uganda. I went to Dallas, Texas. I held a session with our trade reps. We put up a target of $350 million. One thing led to another. We found a way to raise small amounts of money in the US and in the Middle East. So far, and you can go and check this, we have supported 10 companies in Kenya, supplying to Kenya, to Dubai, to China. They are here. They are in various sectors. This money is not from your parliament, the one you insult me in. No. We found that if we can't do it in a transparent way, we will just handle it another way. And we're making progress on that. Now, so why
let's
is
stop
it
for a break?
Why is it?
Let's stop for a break,
Okay.
and I'll give you like another 5 minutes. So we must change topics. No, because our time is running out at midday. Welcome back from the break. We've had a break, and in the break, Ssemujju actually had a discussion with Rwabogo.
Rwabogo was in New Vision when I was at Mond. I am not meeting a stranger.
Okay, it's okay. Listen, let's focus on.
I want us to. I'd planned to talk about Kenya naming, BBC naming.
So for me, Oscar.
Just finish off.
Oscar.
But I need to respond, Oscar.
The fact that a factory or one factory takes this money, or that there is a factory in Tungamo, shouldn't be the issue. The factory in Tungamo can account for what it did. I have asked actually that young man to call a press conference and say, what did you do? That should not stop me.
We invited him, I didn't come.
So, but if you go to Arua, I am very excited that a person called Kermundo is planting more coffee. If you go to Gulu, you will find the General Tema plant. The fact that we should have more factories or coffee or products across the country should not be an issue. It is the accountability that you should think about. So really, what's the future of the work we are trying to do? If I can, I don't know if I answered you, Agatha.
No, it's not all the question.
What's the mandate of PASAID?
Yeah, and
So
coordinating those that already existing.
You just don't understand that. So I took a truck in 2019 of milk. I crossed 3 borders. My milk was put up, down 4 times. I lost a consignment. When I returned, I had no insurance. I had no institution to turn to. I asked myself, who does this and survives as a company? So it's a cause. It's a calling. I'm not doing it for a job. I don't need a job, not at all. I do it for a cause because if I can save businesses by my own experience, I will do it. So this committee is an advisory committee to the president on industry, on exports, to bring some fresh thinking on how you coordinate and create an ecosystem. What is legal about me ensuring that our products are in Dubai or our products are in Texas?
Okay.
If you're going to use public resources,
there is absolutely listen.
Yeah.
We have 32 people on my team. We have 7 consultants. We have trade reps. We have zero money as a budget item. We report to the president's office. Our budgets are audited. We are less than 3 billion, all of us, in a year. So when someone says you have $10 million, you have it, I find it insulting.
Ssemujju, 1 minute, because I want to change topic.
I want to thank Rwabogo, Oscar.
There are big topics.
He has confirmed.
We will stay with him and discuss after that.
He has confirmed everything I said here. 1, he came to Munyonyo leading a group. 2, they asked for money.
What was the intent of heading the group? Why are you... Oscar, I was in Chirinya. Chirinya is his constituency.
Yes.
I went to see a 90-year-old man. Chirinya has 1,700 kids in primary schools. And it has like 2-3 schools. They have no technical college. I never went to criticize this man. He never had me on radio. I went to do a job.
I know what you did when you came to my village.
Why is it
correcting NRM MPs and organizing them to
I'm not really
Ssemujju.
Going to allow you
I know why you came.
No. To continue
Oscar, can you ask Rwabogo to be modest? Let him listen.
We don't sit anywhere as a family. I'm not a family. I have brain on my head.
I told you here when you are saying the family cannot stop you contesting. Didn't they stop you?
But how is that to do with exports?
No, I'm talking about his family.
Why are you touching all over the place?
Please ask Rwabogo.
What was the intent of us
if he doesn't know how to listen, let him run.
We were in Munyonyo because we came helping companies.
Thank you very much. That's what I am saying.
What's the problem with that?
That's what I'm saying, that you came to Munyonyo leading a group, you asked for money.
Yeah.
In the budget committee where I'm a member.
But I never got the money in the budget.
It does not matter. You came and asked for it. Didn't you come to Munyonyo? So where is the lie?
Even without that money,
I put it in my report that Rwabogo led a team. They found us in a retreat of budget committee, asked for money.
Okay.
I asked Parliament not to give public money to private enterprises, but they were fearing Rwabogo. He didn't to be there when he came. MPs were falling on each other to greet him.
That's so
painful.
The second thing.
Hold on, let me ask for Rwabogo.
No, I said the lie. Yes.
Hold on.
Yes.
So if I came to ask for money to support companies, for where do you have a problem with it?
The problem I explained to Parliament, I want to explain again.
Yes.
We have put more than 100 billion shilling taxpayers' money in Tugume's company with no relationship at all
with the government of Uganda.
This is money collected from people who pay taxes. Not even a memorandum of understanding, but we just keep dumping their money. For me as a legislator, if that insults Rwabogo, I will continue doing so.
Also, Oscar needs to know that he cannot walk as Oscar and go to Parliament and ask for money.
Certainly.
So what the budget committee does, or Parliament,
now let him
interfaces
respond
with
to it so that we
institutions.
have
Respond to what? He has already...
Let him talk for 2
Respond
minutes.
to what, Oscar?
No,
Can I respond? You gave me the opportunity to respond. Now you're saying you should respond.
Why don't you talk about genital parts in food? Are you happy with that?
Let me go to the second thing.
I really want to stop this.
But you gave me time to speak, and then you are appropriating it to Rwabogo.
Like the next topic.
So no. Let's go to Parliament.
Let's go to Chankwans
so that you can solve some problems.
The issue I spoke about Chankwans, he likes discussing smaller things, was the issue of Mr. Museveni calling a cabinet retreat. He takes a break, he leaves his wife chairing. As they are there, a son-in-law appears. And I said, you guys, you must respect the country. That you are the only family where the president chairs, then the wife takes a turn, then an in-law comes. That was the issue. Whether you went with the COVID, whether what, even if you surrender 100 COVID tests.
So
that's the issue I was talking about.
Oscar, I find it childish that in the 21st century, people who have capacity to work like me, people who have a little bit of sense of where the country should go, are seen from a point of who they are married from, which family they come from. If you know the family I come from, you'll be surprised. But you'll be very surprised that you are not far from me in terms of...
But Audrey, you also missed the point. You missed the point. the point these people are making, even though they shout too much,
is to
your
go
microphone
to go to Parliament and ask
you
for.
have ability to go to Parliament and ask for money, and I can't.
So, Oscar, let me tell you,
Yeah.
this is absolutely weird. And a citizen of our country can write to a Speaker of Parliament and ask to meet a Committee of Parliament and present a position.
Right. Okay.
So if that
You have
money,
answered that.
yes,
He has answered.
That's not true.
So, Agatha, in the media, I wanted to have a discussion, and it will affect Audrey's responses as well. The Kenyan, BBC Kenya, named 3 officers that shot people. Actually, I don't know why they were advertising it like that, because now when I went to the report, they named 1. But all the listeners were telling me, you have said Kenya named, why can't we name in Uganda? And in Uganda, we didn't name the people that were in Kawempe, but in Uganda, we have one who has named himself, that he has someone in the basement teaching him Runyankore. So how do we get past that? And Ssemujju that accuses Rwabogo of having family meetings, maybe that's what they need to discuss in family meeting. You are on now.
Before you should change me, I'll say one last thing, and I hope Audrey can respond to it later. He told us about places he has created awareness in for our exports, and says they account for the 1.5 billion increase over the years. Now, when you look at destinations for Uganda's exports, they have not changed. It is still Kenya, South Sudan, DRC, I think Netherlands, and I'm going to also say that for coffee,
you're contesting his work.
For coffee, I'm not contesting. I'm just saying it's possible there's work, but it can't be what has contributed, has made this increase in exports now.
Now go.
No, yeah. So
you're done with that.
So I'll share
now
with all of you.
Yes.
We
shall share with
the April 2025 coffee export destinations, where in Serbia, the Balkans, where they put. In Serbia, where they put a hub, what they call a trade hub, it doesn't contribute to that. I thought you should know that. And for Moses Byarhanga, who says that it was increased by Operation Wealth Creation, we can also credit Uganda with their campaign Manyaterimba and whatever, and the Katikiro. But anyway, so now going to that topic. First of all, whatever Mr. Rwabogo is doing, it is high, like over 50% affected by what you're talking about. You are not going to promote tourism in a country where they are beating up citizens for no reason. They are beating up journalists, and a commander of defense forces is coming every day to boast about torturing people and holding them, and no one holds him accountable. So you're talking about the BBC documentary in Kenya. So one is that investigation has taken almost a year. Maybe even this year we will have something to name them. You saw that because there have been many cases that have been taken by individuals under the Human Rights Enforcement Act to hold perpetrators of these violations individually, in their individual capacities. But also there's been a lot of shaming and naming on social media. And sort of trying to tell people that this is the person accountable. When that happened, these so-called security officers started coming with masks. When this question was asked, the State Minister for Internal Affairs in Parliament said it's not proper. They should because that's what the law is. If you're going to arrest someone, identify yourself, show me your badge or whatever, and I know. Because how am I supposed to know that I've been arrested by security officers and not kidnapped by criminals? But the CDF came and said, he doesn't know what he's talking about, and spent 2 days giving us pictures of army officials of other countries that have masks. Now, when you have a country like that, and for me, I cannot tell you how depressed I felt that night when the CDF came and showed us a photo of someone they have tortured. How is it possible that
will affect
this person
Audrey
is
Rwabogo's
not held
as a
accountable.
lawyer, should he be charged for threatening? He said he's going to do things to Ssemujju.
Who?
The CDF.
Oh, the CDF.
Yeah. He said he'll take him to a public
do
whatever and shoot
Do
him.
you know how many young Ugandans are in jail for saying, for what they call the charge of hate speech? And then for them, hate speech is saying Museveni and his family are ruling us poorly. So why shouldn't he be charged for threatening
John,
to kill people?
Microphone.
No,
Events happening.
Yeah, so I think we need to be strategic, and I want to look at it very broadly.
The topic has changed.
No,
The topic.
I understand.
Okay.
So, but I'm speaking. Now I'm saying
we're
about
done with
the
experts.
So you no
going
the
to-
image.
he's
No,
taking
I've said the image of a country determines which investor comes here. Sometimes it determines where you sell products. Certain markets like the EU now are stringent. For instance, issues of child labor, human rights, and so on. So we cannot really delink, and I see that kind of siloed approach of saying now we are promoting ourselves as a good investment destination. Then in the newspaper you're seeing someone writing, now there's a pennies in the things. Then you find tomorrow they have beaten someone to pulp. So all these things,
A police station has been
I
attacked.
think all these things are linked, and as we are talking about and presenting our country, there are things we need to think twice about.
Okay.
Before I beat X, before I beat Ssemujju because he's annoying me, and it appears it's flashed all over the world, I need to think about the economic implications that will have on our country. So for me, that's the point. Audrey, as you are talking about working with government officials to improve coordination, communication, we should also look at issues around social media, the use of social media.
Lydia.
More so by public
Also 2 minutes
officials
on
and the
a
implications.
topic.
So it's part of the whole...
Not yet. But Lydia, the message, for me, the message of it, Lydia, go to microphone, is Bikanga Muzamir says, the way Ssemujju is attacking Rwabogo seems he's working for MK. Bikanga, that's the message of the day. 2 minutes.
So you mean there is a problem between Rwabogo and
next on
MK?
microphone.
You see,
These things you could use John's word strategy. If you tell that you have someone is in your basement, these are going to undermine all the work possible.
well,
Planning in Nyankole.
what we see on the tweets, I think if they are true, then it's unfortunate, and we hope that if you want to really discuss these things to the detail, maybe you invite the spokesperson of the UPDF, because Ssemujju thinks it's a family matter, but it's also an official matter.
No, the reason I say sorry, dear. He said,
You're coming
for me,
really. Yeah, go on.
that's what I can say, because what do you want me to say?
That's a good point.
Thank you.
Then there's also Rwabogo. Maybe we need again, when we invite him, the spokesman should say these things. Ssemujju, your 2 minutes.
And I want to thank you for inviting Rwabogo. Mr. Rwabogo, when you return to your family, please, we are...
You want him to call it clan?
No, that's his constituency. I think the family is his constituency.
Yeah.
You need to help the country.
How?
No, he's talking.
Because you see, Muhoozi Kainerugaba said, I have Edmutwe in my basement. If my father orders me, I will release him. So you want me to appeal to Lydia? I am not insane. The only people who can rein in is the family, because the man keeps referring to the family. Not even the minister. Have you ever heard Kainerugaba referring to the Minister of Defense? His supervisor. In the end of the tweet that if the minister orders me,
does pass outs and so on.
I have said, he said, if my father, not the commander in chief. So please, when you turn to the family, you can export everything that you want, but please allow us space to live in this country peacefully.
I'm glad you accept that I can export everything I want.
Yes, you
We're
can.
coming back to what
I
matters.
thank you.
Good.
But please tell the family, you can't kidnap people. You can't torture people. You've overthrown the constitution and replaced the constitution with yourselves. People who want position in the NRA must trek to northern Uganda to meet Saleh Others who want money for export must come to you, not the minister responsible for export. Those who want freedom must trek to Muhoozi Kainerugaba. You are making it very difficult for us to continue living in our country.
Actually, Oscar, Nganda, I work with the Ministry of Trade. I work with Agriculture. I work with the permanent secretaries. I work with all these institutions. I'm the most flexible, most amenable human being you can find. But the perception roadblock is what you keep reinforcing when you see Rwabogo as a member of family as this. So, just very, very quickly, market segments, I can prove to you the segment of avocado, the segment of sesame. I can prove to you the segment of catfish in Kinshasa that wasn't there. I can prove to you that markets are not just broad. Markets are segmented, and you can get an old market and expand in it. Oscar, there is no meeting. I am now 55. I have never sat in a meeting, and I have been at every tangential corner of the fight for movements, principles, and values since I was a student in 1992. I have spoken outwardly, forcefully, about values, about principles, about how you grow a country. I have never sat in a family session to make decisions of the country. So people listening, it's a lie from the pit of hell. There is no family session that determines Uganda's fate. A country has cabinet. A country has institutions. Here is what the issue is. When a country is growing, certain segments become contentious. Vietnam, which is a good exporter, I said at the start, countries that have done 50% of their GDP, they are not always democratic. They are really not always democratic. So the thing you need to deal with is, Ssemujju, don't strengthen this family talk. Strengthen institutional talk. Ask institutions of government to respond to abuses so that they can come and speak to you without fear or favor. Every time you take what is supposed to be for public into family, you are really making it worse.
Okay.
Secondly and finally.
All right. No, don't say finally yet, because I also want to put a direct question to you.
Okay.
So, will you make a phone call? Because you are the family, will you make a phone call and say, release this man? The Human Rights Commissioner, Eddie Mutwe. So you have an opportunity to use family power and say, release this man or take him to
Oscar, I don't think that we should base decisions of human rights, of communication of a country on phone calls.
Yeah.
That's really the point I'm trying to tell you. It's very important that you hold institutions accountable, because
can you call him and you meet with him?
Institutions are not there. But institutions are not there. They have been overrun.
Let me ask.
No, because Rwabogo is in a position where he can communicate.
Let me switch off your phone.
So there are courts.
So can you call him and say, my brother, release this man?
No, I think that you can hold the Minister for Defense and the CDF accountable for any of their yes. Please do not. This idea that. No, what is that? Really? Think about that. Huh?
Remember the message from Bikanga. He said you are sponsored.
I think General Muhoozi has a mouth.
Yeah.
He has an institution he leads.
And he has a phone.
And absolutely. And I think it is very important
and is your
that
brother-in-law.
you take. How is that in terms of government institutions? Yes, of course, as relationally, you need to make sure that if you have to keep the democracy of our country growing, you really charge institutions to deliver, or you hold their leaders accountable. I came here because I want to be held accountable for the work I do.
Yeah.
In exports, in communication, I'm not hidden.
John Kakungulu said that work will not happen if you don't take the strategy of reining in excesses, especially military excesses.
I know some countries in the ASEAN market. I don't want to mention them because we have ambassadors here. Very, very tenuous politics, very unstable, but those are some of the highest exporters in the world. When social classes change, those institutions' leaders are held accountable. The work I do to try and create jobs for young people, to try and do exports, is to say, shift the thinking, even where we have conflicts like Congo. I'm openly speaking about trade, even when I know there are military and other issues. I am leading delegations to speak about our trade hub in the middle of a conflict.
Okay.
Please turn around and know that this work will not be done by Norwegians. It will be done by us. But we must stop lying about each other. We must look for allies. And we must be honest.
Thank you. Agatha, 1 minute.
Today, this is
we have
not
4
fair.
minutes.
So many things we haven't responded
Indeed.
to. I wanted to...
It's 2 hours, so we can't take something to the conclusion.
It seems Mr. Rwabogo gets offended by someone, especially Ssemujju,
But offend him,
who
it's
who likes the family issues.
Agatha,
being
offend
called,
Mr. Rwabogo, it's
just
okay.
Listen, being called a member of the family. And he wants us to separate him and what he's doing and from that. But I want to assure you that it is because you're President Museveni's son-in-law that you have passed something that, because I asked about its legal status, he didn't give it to us. No, don't say, okay, let me finish, please. And you know, so yeah, so if, and don't come and lie to us that any member of the public can go to Parliament and ask for money. Money in Parliament is appropriated to an institution.
So now you're turning the lies to him.
Let me finish.
We don't have time for you to finish.
An institution that has an accounting officer that will account for that money. Lastly, he talked about strengthening institutional talk. It's ironical that someone who has come and overridden 5 institutions that I mentioned here, more than 5. No, because you are doing work that is supposed to be done by these
them.
other ones.
Okay. Ssemujju, 1 minute.
Yeah, the coordination, and I asked that, are you here as a coordinator? I didn't get the answer. But thank you. Let me stop there since you don't want me to conclude. Ssemujju, please.
So, Oscar, in a conclusion, the moment people who are in government and have access to power overrun institutions of the state, there will be no accountability. I have told you, when Rwabogo led that team, at least into the budget committee meeting in Munyonyo, that was our argument to Parliament, with Honorable Mwanga Chivumbi, with whom we presented the report. What do we see? In every subsequent budget, now even in the supplementary budgets, there is money going to Gume of a factory, who we don't even have a 1-paragraph commitment. And I don't want to mention the others. I want to limit myself to this one because it was trafficked to Parliament by Rwabogo. So when you are there, even if you are doing good things, do them under the framework that you set up. Don't do them outside the framework and then you want us to roll red carpets and clap for you. Don't use positions that you have acquired. Because Rwabogo, I remember when you were in TAP, you were the one promoting Uganda in America. So for you, how do you get this opportunity? And you want to distance yourself from the family that is making decisions?
John, your 1 minute.
Okay, first of all, I think...
Your 1 minute.
Yeah. First of all, I want to...
I've even sent for permission to add more than 1 minute.
Okay, so first of all, I think as a country, it's important that we grow our exports. If we don't grow our exports, it means we shall be dependent on donors, and as we have just seen from the scenario and so on, we'll always be vulnerable. But in order to grow those exports, we must build capacity, we must ensure that local businesses are thriving, and we must bet on the right entrepreneurs. Because I see that we are trying to mix what South Korea did of betting on winners. But sometimes I think we bet on ideas, which is not a bad thing, but bet on someone who is already in motion. Then we must also appreciate the good things that are happening, because from us, from a private sector perspective, we are glad that PACID is in the picture. Yes, there might be things that can be changed, legal framework and so on, but I think the principle is that if what they are doing is positive, then let's preserve it and see how we can improve it. That, for us, that's our position as a private sector. And finally, I would like to appeal to Roderick to use his convening power to ensure that there's greater cohesion. Export Promotions Board, UNBS, this new food authority, the private sector actors, let's not compete with them. Let's encourage them to work together to achieve the greater good.
Lydia? Lydia, will you call the minister, because you wanted formality, will you call the Minister of Internal Affairs? Lydia, you're a very powerful person, the most powerful on this table. sake?
No, I will not call because everybody have their mandate. I am not responsible for most of these things, but I can support if there is a cause. So all of us are the same page. If calls I make calls about NRM women and NRM work. Let those people who are supposed to do their work. And Oscar, you know very well that if there are issues of the sectors, you call. When you wanted to do things of passage, you called Rwabogo. Why didn't you call me? You want things of security, call either the CDF himself is a very good communicator on Twitter. Can he translate the tweet to Capital Gang? But I just wanted to say that we have one country which is like a body. And if the ear is not well, the whole body will not function. If the toe is not well, so let's see how our country can be a whole environment that works for us. Because you will not do a lot of work, including this NRM primaries we are working on. If the whole country is not at part to participate, then we'll be wasting time. So it's very, very important to make this call. Even the exports. If we are not organized to make sure that we are all one body and we somehow agree on what is right and what is wrong, and then we move in the same direction. It's very important for the country. What I see is that we have extremists and we need to struggle very hard to find a middle ground.
Export to Somalia.
We have a lot of extremism growing, and we should be mindful of extremists and see that we all make a contribution to our country. Now, Oscar, you are already speaking in my time.
Yeah, the time finished. It was 1 minute. You are now with 3 minutes. So Agatha, as a lawyer, should know that under the Constitution, the president has powers to create an office. So the office that
I think you're worse dictator in Uganda than the ones we are talking about, Oscar. Then, you don't want us to talk.
Ronald says, thank you for annoying Odrek. But he said in Uganda, Mumunyiziza nnyo, but he is very good. So he gives you commendations. Oh, he's also given us commendations for Kunyiza. Responding.
And I've been using Odrek Rwabogo's microphone given to him by Oscar.
Odrek, go back on. So
Oscar,
I am adding to what John Kakungulu Rugembe said. We want you to use those convening powers, and you convene those people.
It's good.
You convene those people so that we have better security.
I am actually recognizing.
Yes.
So, Oscar, I know a human being to be about their head and their actions. And I also know that a human being is multidimensional, your family, your community, your value system. I don't have time to speak about those, but I'm really a creature of those where I come from. And so I find it a little insulting to say you cannot lead export drive and change for your country because of your marriage. I find it weird, but that's how our politics has become. Senior presidential advisory on exports, there are 100 presidential advisors. Why is the attention on exports? Because we don't waste time. So Agatha, I want you to know, Agatha, that I could have been, I could have been born Chinese or Norwegian, and that doesn't change who Rwabogo is. I've been like this for all my life. And therefore, please take heart. This head has some ideas, and these hands and this thinking has a vision. Agatha, this head has a vision for the country, and give it time. Just listen to it. I am sorry I got upset because of... But that's just...
You got upset because of Ssemujju. His microphone is not on.
So, secondly, I want us to call people who have taken funds to account. It's not nice for me to come here and speak for so. I've told you, I never took this money. I went out of the country. I've added onto the basket. I'm not a consumer. I am an additive, if I can use that.
In the break, I told you what I cannot say on air.
Yeah, so really, you call Tugume, you call whoever took the funds to account publicly. Please don't stop me from helping other farms that are struggling. Thirdly, on May 7th, which is next week, we put out reports every year of per-se work. Our third year report will come out when we are commissioning the track to Serbia. You can read our work and our expenditure, you will be happy. Convening power. Oh, I wish you knew. I wish you knew.
That one.
That's why I've gone grey. the melanin in my hair changed in the last 2 years because the cells are not being created anymore because of thinking past midnight. How do I get people who dislike me? How do I get people who hate me simply because of my nose and my face? Who hate me because of my...
about convening power.
Yes. When I think about that, I restrain myself. I reach out to those who disagree with me because that's leadership. We can't lead alone. I have told you I was in Chirinya in his constituency. He didn't know. Not at all.
His microphone is off.
Yeah, so I just want you to know the institutions of agriculture, the institutions in certification, the institutions in trade. That's why we've brought together 5 ministries to create the food and agriculture law so that we can now clean our food and we have a good reputation.
Okay.
Finally, we are raising money outside to do aggregation centers, 4 across the country, so that you have a RUA specific for minerals. You have Mubende specific for a particular product. To do that, we will need data and analytics with young people. That will really take away the fact that I have an order of 100,000 metric tons of sesame and I only get 10,000. We are next week. We are starting work on all the 45 trade agreements that we've done.
You don't seem to have time for response.
Oscar, we've done 45 trade agreements since 1962. We are the ones looking out for what did Serbia do, looking out for what did Korea do, so that we are able to bring marshal resources and support to change our country.
Thank you, Rwabogo, for coming to Gang and facing off with Ssemujju. We shall continue a little bit of it after the show. Thank you, Star Cafe, that powers Gang. Unfortunately, an accident, Rajiv passed on this early morning. May his soul rest in may his soul rest in eternal peace. After Gang, we have Rough Cuts coming on. My producer, those ones, she likes the rough cuts. So thank you very much, Honorable Ssemujju. Thank you so much, Honorable Anyoto. Thank you so much, Agather Atuhaire, AA. Thank you so much, John Kakungulu Walugembe. And thank you so much, Rwabogo. I am Oscar Semoyamsoke, and I shall see you next